sick and tired of feeling frustrated and exhausted from constantly like drifting off of your path? Do you feel like every time you drift off, it's kind of like, oh, this shit again? Then you've come to the right place, because I get those feelings too much, and it's not so easy to deal with, to be honest. And so that inspired me to make this video, to maybe help the other person get through that, because we're kind of meant to get off track, is what I'm realizing, and what like the universe has been communicating to me, because when we get off track, we find what quick, effective ways get us back to center very, very easily. Or better to say, not easily in the beginning, but this helps us make it easier, because it's just coming up more often, and then we know exactly, okay, this is the middle, this is where my truth is, now I gotta make my way to there again, you know? And it really, really, really does sometimes feel like when you're driving a car, like trying to drive straight and you're just trying to follow the path, and there's someone like on the wheel just going and I totally understand how frustrating that feels sometimes, feeling like you want to stay on path, but it feels as if almost like the universe is kind of like making you go off course again, or life circumstances are pushing you off course again, and it's annoying. Totally get it. But how can we get out of that state of just being annoyed of the situation, and really just not dealing or staying with the present? Because that's how we get out of it. And it's totally normal to get off of the path, because that's what makes us stronger, more resilient, and pretty much makes us evolve. Like, without us steering off of our path, we wouldn't know what works and what doesn't. And I think there's something very, very valuable to it, and I don't believe that the universe wants us to, like, obviously we need to stick to our path, no question about it, but we aren't meant to stay on the path 24/7, and if you get knocked off, know that it is not your fault. This is also placed beautifully there by the universe, and even if it doesn't seem like it in the moment, like, it really all does happen for a reason. And I know a lot of people don't really believe that everything happens for a reason, but I think it does. Maybe it's not your good reason that it happened, or maybe it's not the reason that we thought of, but there is a reason why it's happening, and sometimes it takes a few years even to recognize that in hindsight, but that's a whole different video. But what I'm trying to say is, no matter how far off of the path you veer, don't say fuck it and give up because there's such a far way back to the path in the middle. It's totally normal to steer off. What's important is, what steps are you taking to bring yourself back onto the path? We all, every single individual human being on this planet, even beings in general, like, they have a certain balance, a certain middle, that where they're their optimal self. I like to see that as like the path of divinity, the path of your higher self, whatever you want to call it, the path of source, the path of God. It all is like what I'm referring to with this like middle point. And just like life happens, there's a certain pendulum going on, and I see it as one side as like the pendulum kind of going into the ego end of things, and like an overactive, arrogant kind of place, and then the other balance is being in that like numb place, in that very like insecure, self-doubt, shame, guilt, like that kind of area. And in the middle is like our most beautiful higher self, and it is totally normal for us to pendulate along this linear, or it's not even linear, I forget that I said that, but just like to pendulate here along and to find out what our middle is. This is so important, because our middle is different for every single person. Like, there won't be a thing like a one size fits all for life on planet. Like it just doesn't work. And so, yeah. And so we're trying to find that middle. And what's very, very important is it's a simple concept, but it is difficult to like process, you know. And in the end, it's just 3 steps: awareness. It could even be 2: awareness, journaling. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'll explain that in just a sec. And 1 mini step that you can take to bring you into the right direction. So why awareness is number 1 is because it starts with awareness. If you are not aware of it, you cannot change anything about the problem. I don't think I need to tell you that. I think that's pretty clear. But I can't stress the importance of awareness. It's the one that we like kind of just like let go by the most. Hi, baby. Hello. We just kind of like let slip by the most, and we often tend to focus on like how to fix the problem without even taking the time to feel through it. And the problem with doing that is it gets stuck in the body, and this accumulates. It's kind of like if you use like a shampoo that has a lot of buildup, you know, like maybe like one, or like a conditioner or whatever that like builds up a lot on your hair or whatever. If you do it one time, it maybe won't be that bad, but give it like 5 weeks and you'll have like a really hard time because it's just going to be all so heavy and like weighing everything down, and it gets stuck. It may not be able to see it like directly, but it does get stuck somewhere, you know. And that's why the awareness part of it is so important, to work through it instead of avoiding it at all costs, because otherwise it's going to confront you and it's going to come up with a much higher frequency than if you were to feel through it, because life repeats its lessons for the most part. Repeats its lessons until you understand the lessons and you work through them. And avoiding it is just making those lessons come up, even though it could be avoided, or it could be, that was the wrong word, it could be, I guess avoided to have like that unnecessary stress on your body, because, it's just, you need to work through it, period. And there's no way around it, unfortunately. I wish I could tell you there's like some kind of easy trick that you can just like avoid all your problems and you get there to the end, but unfortunately you do have to kind of do the work. And it is a beautiful journey, though, I want to reassure you. Oh, it's raining! And it really is a beautiful journey, and it does, the toughest parts are in the beginning, to be honest. Those moments where you're like at the fork and you're like, okay, I can take the easy route, the one that I've been taking the entire time and not been getting anywhere with, or I could actually take a route that will bring me in the right direction. And the more often you do that, the more you'll recognize it truly is easier with time, and you enjoy the process. You really, really do. And it's not work, it's like you just know, bam, bam, this got to get done, and you want to do it because you know it'll make you feel so much better about it afterwards, and not with the intention going into it of wanting to feel better, because you still need to work through it. And sometimes when we go in thinking, oh, I just want to feel better, then we kind of miss the point of that feeling, because feelings are just there to steer us onto the path of divinity, you know. Feelings are here when we're on this side or this side of the pendulum. Feelings are there to kind of steer us back into the right direction, because falling off of the path is inevitable, and it's not the universe trying to go against you, or like karma biting you in the ass or whatever. It's life. You get knocked off path, and the universe will help you to get back onto path again, because this needs to happen so that we evolve. Like a lot of people ask, like, yeah, but why? Like, why was it built that way? We wouldn't get anywhere if it wasn't built that way. And recognizing the beauty of that is like undescribable. You just gotta like experience it for yourself. And I'm not here to say you have to do this and you have to do this, but these are like the steps that I have figured out for me, like the easiest and most quickest way to just get out of that rut, get out of that hole, because once you find ways you can get out of there easily, like falling into a hole won't be such of a life alteration, or like such a big deal, because you know exactly, you have the tools, you have the wisdom, you have the intelligence, you have like the capability to get yourself out of that hole. And there's a lot of power in that, a lot of power in that. And then with time, maybe you can help other people help themselves to get themselves out of the hole, so that someone doesn't always have to jump inside the hole and try to like crawl them out of there. Like, it is something that we all have to do ourselves, otherwise it can get a bit messy, because you're the only person who knows what's right for you. And I'm blabbing on a little bit now, but let's get to the point. So 1, awareness. 2, journaling. If you have this much energy left in your energy basket, and you know it's just like there's not a lot of like momentum going on here, it's totally okay. Recognize that, skip the journaling, and go straight from awareness to the mini step you can take, to the mini action step you can take into the right direction. If you're here, what action step can you take to get back onto your path? And that's going to be different for everyone, because everyone is on a different linear area of like the pendulum that I'm visualizing here. And it really isn't linear, but it's good to visualize that way. And everyone's on different areas of paths, and so the medicine is going to be different. And just know that you are so insanely powerful, miraculous, and intelligent. Like, your body, you've been gifted like with the most like amazing machine you could ever like imagine. And trust that this machine, combined with your divinity and your higher self, you'll find your answer for you. Might not be overnight, but that's why I like to implement journaling. If you do have that, like a little bit more than just like the bare minimum on your energy level, I do really recommend it. It is very, very powerful to recognize and understand the patterns that are coming up. And with journaling, there are some questions you can ask yourself, like, why am I getting frustrated? Like, what made me believe that this isn't a part of life? Was it maybe some false expectations that I had? Or what were the triggers for this feeling? What were the first signs of it, so that I can maybe put my foot into the door a little bit earlier the next time this comes along? And it's all about like looking at it as a holistic thing and working on how you can do it better next time. You don't have to do it perfect, but just one tiny little bit better than this time, or than the last time, and everything. And this is a long process, I'm not going to lie. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's something you do have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. But if that sits, like, you are unstoppable, like, period. Like, if that sits with you, like, anything that will knock you off path, you know, okay, like, maybe you can sulk for like 5 minutes and feel sorry for yourself, and that's fine, and sometimes we do need that, but like, don't let it get out of hand. Know when you need to be like, okay, stop, here's where it ends, and we're going to go into the right direction now. Even if that literally just means like following the step 1, awareness, 3, mini step, that's still an action. Just alone, the thought of thinking more aware is already an action, and so don't underestimate how quick this action can actually be. You don't need to run a marathon to release that adrenaline that's like rattling around in you. You can literally just do like the smallest step, like doing 5 jumping jacks for a sec, and just like get that out, get that energy moving, and then just laying down. It can be like the smallest step. I can't stress this enough, but that smallest step is bringing you back to your path, even if it is in a very, very mini way. And I can't stress the profound effect that has on the long term. Because with this all or nothing thinking, this is coming from our perfectionism, and it's making us feel even more stuck. And once we are down in that hole, and we tell ourselves we're going to do this and this and this and this and this, it's really easy to tell us, or to tell ourselves that when I'm down, I'm going to do this and this and this to get back up, and everything will be totally fine. But once you're in that hole, your energy levels are obviously different as when you were up there. So, 1 mini step, and that will give you enough energy to act on step number 2. That will give you enough energy to act on step number 3. And so, I cannot stress the importance of not overdoing it with the actions you're going to take. And if momentum takes you into a beautiful journey where afterwards you feel like doing yoga and you feel like being mindful because it inspired you, then do it, girl. But don't have that as your thing that you have to do once you're doing bad, because you're having a hard time in the first place. Like, don't make it worse on you. Fewer steps, smaller steps, but sprinkling in more awareness into it. That's the key. And awareness, journaling, and then that mini step. Where does it go from here? And our goal is just to move out of the position that you're in right now. Because once you take that mini step, you already have a different perspective, even if it's just the slightest different perspective. And I totally believe in you that you can do this, because you are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for, like so much stronger. And love you all. Thank you for listening. I'm Alisia, and until next time.